Hello and welcome to Hugh's Reviews, the place for movie views and spoiler clues. Hey, sorry folks, this one might be a little short. I have rarely come across a movie with so little to talk about, and I'll try to explain why. This is a horror comedy that doesn't know what either of those words mean. This is a film so bored with itself, you wonder why it bothers to exist. This is The Dead Don't Die. Everyone has, at one point or another, seen a bad movie. The thing is, most people think bad movies are all created equal. What many don't understand is that there are as many different types of bad movie as there are of good movie. Casablanca and Jurassic Park are both good movies, but no one would consider them comparable. And within the realm of bad cinema, there is just as much variety. There is a type of film called the so bad it's good movie. This is a production so amazingly awful, so incredibly inept and misguided, that you find yourself laughing in fascinated amazement. It is treasured by those who enjoy such things, and has become in recent years popularized to the point that some try to recreate it. But this kind of film cannot be made on purpose. It can only emerge as a glorious accident. It is the subtle few degrees difference between the lightning-in-a-bottle strike of Birdemic and The Room versus the banal bludgeoning of any given 30%er on Rotten Tomatoes. I have seen many bad films in my time. I am a decades-long fan of Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks. I long to interview Tommy Wiseau. I have, against the advice of many a loved one, seen all of Neil Breen's films. In short, I am a connoisseur of crap, with a distinguished doctorate in the awful. So, when I tell you that this movie is bad, you may expect me to glory in its garbage. Unfortunately, I cannot. It is not so bad it is good. It is just bad. When I first saw the trailer for The Dead Don't Die, I thought it was an April Fool's prank. After all, I saw the trailer on April 1st, and by April 2nd, all mention of it had disappeared from social media like bad gas in a tornado. But I wanted it to be real. A comedy zombie flick featuring a slew of stars who had no business being in a B-list monster movie, who are obviously reveling in their Chardonnay dry dialogue and slasher set pieces? Sign me up and take my money, please! Months passed, and then The Dead Don't Die reared its head once more. Not only was it not a gag, it was a full-blown film. It had a release date, a genuine director, a distribution deal, the whole 9 beautiful yards. I was so excited! But it was such a limited release, I would have to wait for the DVD. Dang it! And then it came to home video, and then I eagerly snatched it from the shelf. I had a little treasure in my hands. Ooh, I'm so happy. And then I had to watch this. You remember in the movie, the producers or the leads attempted to make a play so bad they'd go bankrupt so that they could then cash in on their insurance just to repay their creditors? In that film, the leads wrote a play so guaranteed to fail, only a fool would bet on it, only to have it become a hit and foil their scheme. Well, with Dead Don't Die, Jim Jarmusch must have given that tax dodge a shot, only to have it fall flaccid at his feet. He did not try to make a good movie. He did not try to make a bad movie. He tried to make a so bad it is good movie. And that is where he went wrong. This is not the producer's miraculously hysterical Springtime for Hitler. This is the stale popcorn people ate while watching it. I am not attempting to describe the plot at this point because it is so blandly obvious. But if I must, I must, so here you go. There's a zombie outbreak in a small town, and the undead begin eating people. There. You got the plot. This premise can, in the right hands, be stunning and horrifying like the original Night of the Living Dead, or it can be silly and wild like Shaun of the Dead. What Jarmusch and company have tried to do here is to make a horror-comedy blend of George Romero's Day of the Dead crossed with Tim Burton's Mars Attacks. And he didn't understand either one of those, though it's obvious he wants praise for even knowing what those movies are, like a more pathetic Kevin Smith. Looking at the list of stars, I wondered if they were in on the joke or if they were somehow tricked into thinking the film would turn out better than it did. Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Tilda Swinton, and Steve Buscemi? Tom Waits, Danny Glover, Iggy Pop, Carol Kane? What even is this list of stars? Was it meant to be part of the gag that so many classic wonders and modern A-listers being in this movie was to be seen as ironic? Well, it didn't work, and I blame Jim Jarmusch and him alone for this pathetic failure, because he not only directed and wrote the film, but had a hand in wrangling these people into it. So, who is Jim Jarmusch to have such clout, you may ask? Well, I did some digging, and it turns out most of the biggies featured here have worked with him before on other projects. He is an auteur filmmaker with a specific style who ingratiates himself with actors and critics alike, and stands clever and coy at the sidelines, mysterious and brash at the same time, creating an air of self-importance and brilliance. In short, he is a decent director and writer with a few decent works under his belt, but his cult of personality makes up for the rest. So, much like others I will not mention, he has a loyal stable of thespians to draw from, who will come running the second he snaps his fingers, no matter the project. Too bad for them. Though Murray and Driver, who are most prominently featured in the film, deliver their lines with a dry wit, the comedy hinted at has little to no payoff. Once a bit of clever dialogue is delivered with aplomb, the movie jerks to pure gore, and then to timidly pathetic PG violence, and then to self-reference, and then into the nonsensical. I was reminded of Monty Python's Holy Grail a few times with how little the film seemed to care about narrative, and then I remembered that that particular film had a through thread that drove every insane action or whimsical set piece. Something that cannot be said for this movie. Perhaps Jarmusch thought he, all on his lonesome, could create a Python-esque masterpiece, but he was sadly and boringly mistaken. Where the Pythons had Swiss watch-tight timing and focus, Jarmusch wrote 10 pages of the script in an afternoon, and then apparently decided to fill in the rest with whatever popped in his head on the day. At a few points, the main characters are completely aware that they are in a film, but the film itself does little with the opportunity. There are whole stretches of the movie dedicated to characters that serve absolutely no purpose, who have their own proposed arc, and then they are cast out like lepers. And then we never see what becomes of them. Clever introductions and winks are made, and very few are capitalized on. If this was supposed to be a parody, it's a pretty poor one. If it was meant to mock or satirize our culture's flagging obsession with zombies, it was sadly mismanaged. Whatever Jarmusch was going for here, it was at most an attempt at making a movie so bad it was good, or to mock the idea of a film that is so bad it's good. But he was not intelligent or talented enough to carry that off. Maybe this is an Andy Kaufman-esque joke on the viewer, where the intent will not become known until years after. It seems mean-spirited and sprightly enough, but if that's the case, then Jimmy's gonna have to resign himself to failure. There isn't even anything of note in the set design, costuming, gore effects, or zombie makeup to discuss. It all just sits there like a lukewarm cup of coffee on a barely chilly day. Dull, stale, and nobody cares if you throw it away. The only notable aspect was the day-for-night blue filter they used, so they didn't have to bother trying to figure out how to properly light the actual night scenes. Just like a no-budget backyard amateur, he just puts a blue filter on bright daylight and goes, "Looky, it's totally nighttime 'cause dark and stuff!" Yeah, I get he was mocking bad movies using that trick, but he had no idea why it was funny, and he's merely repeating a bad version of a joke he once heard. There are sparks, be they ever so faint, of goofy glory to be found in this film. Every one of them is wasted. Bill Murray plays the small-town police chief long overdue for retirement. Driver is the young buck deputy secretly in love with Chloe Sevigny's pretty but shy Officer Mindy Morgan. Buscemi is a racist farmer who is somehow friendly with Danny Glover's genial hardware store-owning Hank. Caleb Landry Jones is a horror film aficionado and nerdy loner. Tilda Swinton is a colorblind Scottish Bushido samurai undertaker. Wait, what? So many nutty characters to play with, so many possibilities are presented. Does any of this matter or have a decent payoff? No. That's just who they are, and nothing of note is done with it. He knows about the tropes of bad film, but has no idea why they make some of us laugh. To again quote Roger Ebert, he knows the lyrics, but not the music. When a man sets himself to making a movie that is so bad it's good, he is doomed to failure unless he is a genuine genius. Jim Jarmusch is not a genius, and sadly the people who bet on this lame horse have to pay the price. They may enjoy working with this man, but the end result is depressingly uninteresting. Don't even bother with this one on home video. You can thank me later for the hour and a half you didn't waste. And that is it tonight for Hugh's Reviews. Thanks for tuning in at our noon time, and keep listening for updates on how you can hear some of the old archived episodes. That's coming soon. As always, I'd like to thank our underwriters at Moons of Vega Photography and our technical support team at the Central PA Computer Nerd. And for all you other film fanatics out there, happy viewing.